morning. I'm Pat Evans. I'm a lieutenant with the Draper City Police Department. I'm also on the executive board of directors for the Utah Law Enforcement Memorial. On behalf of our board, we welcome you to the 2020 annual memorial service. Since this memorial was dedicated on September 6, 2008, there's been a memorial service the first Thursday of May at 11 each year. It's a time and an opportunity for us to come to this sacred place and honor the 145 fallen police officers that have given their life here in Utah. As you look at these names that are on this wall behind me, just remember that each of these heroes has a story. They may not be with us anymore, but it is so important that we keep their memories alive. Everyone has a reason to be here, whether you're a member of our communities, whether you're part of the law enforcement profession, or maybe you lost a friend or a loved one. My reason is Sergeant Derek Johnson. He was shot and killed September 1st, 2013. That was an eye-opening experience. Not only did I lose a friend, it really opened my eyes to the sacrifices made by a lot of members in our profession. As you're well aware, times are a little crazy right now. We're unable to have our regular service. However, we did not want to miss this opportunity to honor the memories of these fallen officers. Fortunately, we are not adding any names to the wall this year. We all wish that was the case every year. We have an incredible historian, Robert Kirby, who spends countless hours researching historical documents to ensure that no fallen peace officer is forgotten. Very recently, he discovered another fallen hero, Franklin D. Sherrar of the Utah Highway Patrol, whose sacrifice will finally be recognized and his name will be added to this wall next year. Today, you're going to hear from our friend and retired Utah Highway Patrol Lieutenant, Representative Lee Perry. Lee has been an advocate and a legislative liaison for the memorial for many years. You will also hear from Garfield County Deputy Clint Pearson. He's the son of fallen Utah Highway Patrol Trooper Ray L. Pearson. Trooper Pearson was shot and killed in Panguitch on November 7th, 1978. Cold Cell Stories, Brad Lund will be singing their new original song, Old Flag. We'll start first with the Pledge of Allegiance, and we'll go from there. Thank you.
Repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Representative Lee Perry of the House of Representatives, and for the last 31 years I've worked for the Utah Highway Patrol and recently retired. I've served as the legislative liaison for the Utah Law Enforcement Memorial for the past 10 years. Before that, I served on the ULEM board. I was invited on the ULEM board to help raise funds and to help with the construction of this monument where I stand today. The previous memorial, a plaque on the wall at the State Capitol Rotunda, was not going to be replaced following the Capitol's renovation. I've attended a number of Utah law enforcement memorials, both inside the Capitol and here at this great monument dedicated in 2008. Since starting my career in law enforcement in 1988, I've seen 38 of my brothers and sisters in law enforcement who gave the ultimate sacrifice and whose names have been added to this memorial. I want to assure you they may be gone, but they will not be forgotten. In 1962, legislation was passed and signed by JFK declaring May 15th Peace Officer Memorial Day, and the week surrounding that as Police Week. Efforts developed to develop a national monument started in 1972, and in 1984, that law passed and a national monument was to be built and designed in Washington, D.C. It was dedicated on October of 1991, and now there are 21,000 law enforcement officers who've been killed in the line of duty on that memorial in Washington, D.C. For me, some of the most personal times in my life have been here at this memorial. When I was here to honor close friends and colleagues, most recently I think back to May of 2013. I was here for a dear friend and a colleague, UHP Trooper Aaron Beasley. I was here again a year later to honor a dear friend, Sergeant Derek Johnson of Draper Police Department. I remember in 2017 that we honored my friend and my trooper, Eric Ellsworth, along with Cody Brotherson of the West Valley Police Department and Doug Barney of the Unified Police Department. And then last year, we honored my friend, Assistant Chief Dennis Vincent of the Brigham Police Department, along with Officer Schinner of Provo Police Department and Officer Romrell of the South Salt Lake Police Department. Now, this year, we are blessed that we have no officers taken from us, and we will not be adding any names this year. We do, however, have one historic name that was recently found by the ULAM historian Robert Kirby, and it will be added next year, that of Patrolman and Trooper Frank Scherer, who died in 1945 as a result of an injury that occurred while on duty and that he succumbed to while on the operating table. Now, I realize our country and state have been through many challenges, this current pandemic being the latest, and yet we find a way to overcome. For instance, here I stand, almost by myself, sharing those thoughts to a camera and a few other folks, that we make sure that we're properly social distanced, but we're going to use technology to hold our annual memorial ceremony this year in 2020. We can never allow those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice to be forgotten. It is incumbent upon us, the living, to make sure that we recognize those heroes. And more importantly, the families, both in blood and in blue, or in my case, in brown, that their families know that they will never be forgotten under our watch. I recall the positive attitude of our country after 9/11 and how many rallied around our military, our police, and our fire, realizing that all give some and some gave all. I want people to have the feeling every time that they come to visit this memorial that they'll have that same feeling. This is why I served on the ULAM board, and I worked with the ULAM to get a ULAM license plate approved through our state legislature. I look forward to my ULAM plate that I can proudly display on my car so I can show support for those who give some, and especially for those who gave all. I didn't always feel this way, however. It was in 1996 that I discovered why memorials are so important. They are not for the dead, they are for the living. Robert Kirby, a friend, a newspaper columnist and an author, and currently the ULAM historian, approached me with a unique idea. I was then the Utah Highway Patrol Association president. His idea was to place a 12-foot white cross with a 6-foot arm emblazoned with the name of each fallen trooper somewhere in the location near where that officer was given the ultimate sacrifice. Then, after he explained his idea, he told me the story of UHP trooper William Antonowitz, who was murdered in 1974 just along Interstate 80 near Echo Junction. He explained that most people drive past that area and no one truly remembers the sacrifice of Trooper Antonowitz. This was especially true of the person who committed that murder. That individual could drive by that very spot regularly and not think about the life that he took some 20 years earlier, as he had been released from prison and was now living in Wyoming and his family living in Ogden. We also wanted to make sure the citizens that were served by Trooper Antonowitz, who drive by this area frequently, were reminded of the sacrifice and service of Trooper Antonowitz. We erected those memorial crosses at the suggestion of Robert Kirby for our fallen troopers. And still, many of them stand and are throughout the state on private ground somewhere in the area where those officers paid the ultimate sacrifice. Trooper Antonowitz's memorial is adjacent to I-80 near mile marker 187. It's between the Echo and the Wyoming state line, where he worked that fateful day so many years ago. This work, sadly, will never end. And as I've had the opportunity to attend 3 more memorial cross dedications for officers who were alive when we started that project. One of the reasons we did this is because not everyone can come to the Capitol, to this memorial. This memorial, like the one in Washington, D.C., is a unifying memorial location for all law enforcement officers in the state of Utah. It makes sure that all Utah law enforcement fallen are recognized and remembered by the citizens of Utah. Now, additional memorials like the memorial crosses and other memorials erected in local communities are no less important, as they serve to recognize the heroes that we've had in our midst over the years. People need to remember their sacrifice. Memorials are for the living, not for the dead. In conclusion, I just want to share with you something that's been called the police officer's prayer. It says, "Give me strength to protect those who cannot protect themselves, wisdom to serve my community to the best of my ability, and the courage to face whatever stands in the way." Now, I don't know any officer or any member of the military who probably actually took that oath or prayer. However, like James Garfield said on that first Decoration Day, which is now what we know as Memorial Day, at Arlington National Cemetery after the Civil War, he made the comment, "We do not know one promise these men made, one pledge they gave, one word they spoke, but we do know they summed up and perfected by one supreme act, the highest virtues of men and citizens. For love of country, they accepted death, and thus resolved all doubts, and made immortal their patriotism and their virtue." I hope that we can all remember those who paid the ultimate sacrifice, and never forget the sacrifice of the families that they made on all of our behalf. God bless the families of fallen. God bless every officer who continues to serve and protect us here in Utah and throughout our country. And bless their families for supporting them. Bless each of you for participating in this 2020 Utah Law Enforcement Memorial Program, and may God bless America. Thank you.
I have this old flag on the wall someone's given me. Someone sacrificed it all so we can be free. Who are the ones that left these blood-stained prints? I wonder where those souls have been. Don't walk away from the pain that it gives. So many names, so many faces. All the blood, all the tears, all the heartbreaks it gives. All the blood, all the tears, all the heartbreaks it gives. Honor flags delivered to these families. Too many lost, when will they appreciate what it means? Who are the ones that left these blood-stained prints? I wonder where those souls have been. Don't walk away from the pain that it gives. So many names, so many faces. All the blood, all the tears, all the heartbreaks it gives. All the blood, all the tears, all the heartbreaks it gives. And we'll fly it high tonight, like a soaring eagle in the deep blue sky. And we'll fly it high tonight, like a soaring eagle in the deep blue sky. All the blood, all the tears, all the heartbreaks it gives. All the blood, all the tears, all the heartbreaks it gives. blood, all the tears, all the heartbreaks it gives. I have this old flag on the wall someone's given me. Someone sacrificed it all so we can be free.
Since most of you don't know me, some of you might, since most of you don't, I'm Deputy Clint Pearson with the Garfield County Sheriff's Office. I feel really honored that that I was asked to speak. One of the reasons I think they chose me to speak was my father was Trooper Ray Lynn Pearson. My dad was trooper for the Highway Patrol for 5 years before he was killed in a traffic stop on Highway 20. We call it Bear Valley. It's Utah Highway 20, for those of you who don't know, about 2 miles from the junction with Highway 89. The young man that he stopped had a stolen car and a stolen gun. Before my dad was killed, I always thought it was really cool that I was the son of a cop. Grandpa was a cop, Dad was a cop. That's all I ever wanted to be. All my dad ever wanted to be was a cop. Bad blood in the family there. After Dad was killed, I still thought it was pretty cool that I was a son of a cop and that my family were all cops. It was, I don't know, it was kind of the thing that got me through. There were a lot of troopers that checked in on us regularly, took care of us after Dad passed away. And over the years, I got to know quite a few of them, and I still wanted to be a cop. There were just a few things I wanted to talk about. I want to talk about my dad a little. He was kind of the guy that everybody kind of liked. He was always looking to pull a prank on somebody, or pulling a prank on somebody, or having fun in some way. Most of the officers that knew him, well, everybody that really knew him, always called him Lynn. Still does to this day. When I talk to his old friends, they talk about Lynn, they don't talk about Ray. They talk about all the fun they had with him and all the trouble they got into with him. So as most of you all know, the best cops would have been really good crooks. So we kind of fit in. In my patrol car, on my visor, I have a picture that I carry, and every time I pull the visor down during the day, I look at it. It's of my dad holding me when I was tiny. I was pretty small. And it keeps me centered throughout my day. It reminds me who I am, and reminds me that this thing could go bad in a hurry. It is such an honor to know that my dad's not forgotten, that he's honored on that wall, that people who walk up there, even though they don't know who he was or what happened, they know he was an officer. They know he gave his life doing this job. As long as that wall's there, nobody in law enforcement who gave the ultimate sacrifice will ever be forgotten, especially not by those of us who are still wearing a badge. Last thing I have to say is a poem, and I hope I can get through it. The poem is by Sergeant Joshua Hellerbrand. It's called The Final Inspection. You may have heard it, you may not. I hope I can get through it. The policeman stood and faced his God, which always must come to pass. He hoped his shoes were shining just as brightly as his brass. Step forward now, policeman, how shall I deal with you? Have you always turned the other cheek? To my church have you been true? The policeman squared his shoulders and said, No, Lord, I guess I ain't. Because those who carry badges can't always be a saint. I've had to work most Sundays, and at times my talk was rough. And sometimes I've been violent because the streets are awful tough. But I never took a penny that wasn't mine to keep. Though I worked a lot of overtime when the bills just got too steep, I never passed a cry for help, though at times I shook with fear. And sometimes, God forgive me, I shed unmanly tears. I know I don't deserve a place among the people here. They never wanted me around, except to calm their fears. If you've a place for me here, Lord, it needn't be so grand. I never expected or had too much. But if you don't, I understand. There was silence all around the throne, where the saints had often trod, as the policeman waited quietly for the judgment of his God. Now step forward, policeman. You've borne your burdens well. Come walk a beat on Heaven Street. You've done your time in hell. Thank you for letting me speak to you for a few minutes. And please remember those that are on the wall and their families. Thank you.
Right face. Ready. Fire. Ready. Fire. Ready. Fire. Left face. Present. Arms.
Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for helping us honor these heroes and making sure that these heroes' sacrifices will never be forgotten. We want to take time to thank everyone that participated today and thank everyone who worked behind the scenes to make all this possible. Thank you.